See you all. Amazing. Hope you're all having a great first day to Ship or Die. I know I am. And I want to personally thank you all for sticking around for this panel. I can see some of you itching to get over the happy hours. Don't worry. We'll make this one short and sweet. I'm joined today by four incredible leaders in the space. They're truly redefining Solana DeFi in real time. I want to give them a second just to introduce themselves. Eugene, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'm Eugene. I'm a co-founder at Ellipsis Labs. We do a bunch of different things in Solana DeFi, ranging from asset origination and liquidity bootstrapping to providing liquidity on some of the most competitive pairs on chain today.
Hey guys, I'm Eduardo. I work at Galaxy Digital and I manage the DeFi trading side of things, partnering with different protocols, including some of the people here and different businesses across the space.
I'm Nathan. I'm from Orca. We're one of the leading decentralized exchanges on Solana, concentrated liquidity AMM, really focused on RWAs and expanding traditional assets and bringing them on chain.
Hey, I'm Mac Brennan Pete. I'm a co-founder at Margin, which builds generalized credit infrastructure, and also a co-founder at Temporal, which is a research and development firm native to Solana. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, as you guys can tell, an incredible host of people here. I want to kick things off by just, addressing the elephant in the room. We talked a lot about RWAs today, the X stocks announcement, ACRED on pretty much every platform. But I think we're still seeing some protocols struggle with market size and depth. So I'd love to get your thoughts on what we need to do to get Solana DeFi ready for institutional sized markets, and where we can improve, where some of your projects can improve in doing that, and to achieve kind of $1 trillion market size. Do you want to start with Eugene? You want to kick things off?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of barriers today. I mean, the fact of the matter is it's more difficult to build in DeFi than it is to build in TradFi. You're building in a much more adverse environment, and so you need to build mechanisms that can work permissionlessly and still deliver efficient outcomes to the users. And so when we're talking about the asset sizes and requirement for liquidity, the efficiency of the protocols is going to matter a lot more. So this is something we focus on a lot at Ellipsis Labs. How do we have really deep liquidity on chain without needing to incentivize it or incentivize it too much? So that was the genesis of our order book, our on-chain order book called Phoenix. And today we're one of the largest liquidity providers on Sol USDC through SolFi. And then when you bring it all the way to the other side of the least mature assets that are maybe just getting their starts on chain, and how do we do liquidity bootstrapping and asset origination? I think that's it's a totally different problem. And we're starting to work on that piece as well with our Gavel product, which just launched this week.
Yeah, congrats on the launch, by the way. It's pretty awesome to see kind of a large team like yourself try and tackle sandwich resistance. Eduardo, I'd love to get your thoughts, as kind of the representative of the institutions in the room. Where do you see the opportunities right now for Solana DeFi to grow? And kind of how do you compare us to the other ecosystems? What do we do better? What's been sort of your experience trading in both camps? Because I know you guys run strategies kind of across chain. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of depth, Solana is probably number 2, right behind Ethereum, right? I think that some of the ways that Solana can improve is take advantage of its speed and its architecture to be able to pull in large players. I think on the compliance front, sometimes it can be easier on Ethereum to track wallets. And so I think it's just a matter of time before compliance service providers are able to give you even more deep analytics that rival those of EVM environments. I think building new primitives is going to help significantly. Termed out loans, as an example, leveraging the existing liquidity from protocols like Camino. But yeah, I think that Solana does have the keys to access institutional funds, and it's right there, right? I think that it's just going to be a matter of time, but all the pieces are there. So I'm not very concerned about the ability of Solana to really attract institutional players, outside of the fact that compliance may be a bit tougher to track, and there should be potentially built out some protocols that cater more to institutional players.
Yeah, I'd love to dig in there for a bit. You spoke a little bit about compliance. I think that a lot of DeFi is built from the ground up, maybe not taking that into account. So I'd love to understand, maybe from the rest of the panel as well, what are your thoughts on sort of risk management, how institutions view risk versus how DeFi natives do? These are clearly two very different use cases. And users. And so I'd love to get your thoughts on kind of how do we, as an ecosystem, grow to tailor our products to both camps, right? You don't want to necessarily forget the DeFi natives, but building products that institutions can underwrite and can use.
Yeah. So on the protocol side, counterparty credit risk is not really that big of an issue, just because of the over collateralizations and the liquidation mechanisms that are available in place, especially with deep liquidity in pools like Orca's. When you look at compliance, it's mostly about who you're trading against, right? And currently what we have set up is we evaluate on a pool by pool basis. We look at historical trading volumes on every single pool that we're going to touch, and we have thresholds on percentage of activity coming from bad actors, and that can be OFAC sanctioned, that can be hack-related funds, that can be what have you, right? And so I think to an extent that is useful. I think going forward, having something where those transactions actually get prevented at the protocol level could be something that is going to be beneficial, and not only at the front end side of things, but at the core protocol building side of things would be something that would definitely give me a bit more ease of mind. Regardless, there could be ways, for example, that services can be offered where whenever a bad transaction is coming in, you can sandwich it with removal of liquidity, deposit liquidity, things like that are extremely tough to build, but that would definitely bring a bit more ease of mind to the system.
I think today the biggest difference between DeFi and TradFi is DeFi is by default permissionless, so assets can flow unless they are blocked. And in TradFi, it's closer to the opposite, where you need to be whitelisted before you can participate. And to be compliant, I think DeFi is going to have to have some options that cater more to that crowd. I think Solana's been pretty good at anticipating this. The core Solana folks have been working on token extensions for a couple of years now, and the most basic feature there is you can enable a whitelisted set of addresses, which could be addresses that have passed some KYC AML check. Protocols, of course, could define it however they would like. But I think some of the the DeFi purists are, those types of ideals are going to end up clashing with mainstream institutional adoption.
Yeah, I think that's a great point about token extensions and how they've kind of really been thoughtfully from the beginning designed to kind of enable institutions to move and actually integrate with permissionless protocols on chain, and really enable like permissions to be set at the token level and maintain whitelists, like Eugene said, that kind of give you confidence as to who your counterparties are, and maintain compliance with all of the KYC, AML, other things as well. So I think that's something that was very thoughtful, very forward-looking from Solana to build that into to the core protocol. I think there's still some work there to be done to kind of arrive at more settled standards as to how different issuers actually implement token extensions and do it in a way that makes it easy for protocols like ours and MarginFi, Ellipsis, everywhere else to like do it in a way that's more scalable and not have to do custom implementations for each issuer or for each transfer agent or whoever it may be. I think actually a little bit later, Taylor from Exotech is going to talk about this some and talk following this. But I think that's I think a great thing that Solana has built into to the network is with the token extensions to really facilitate compliance for institutions.
Yeah, Mac, I know we spoke backstage about you looking at MarginFi and kind of the products that can be built on top of it. And I think the nature of token extensions, right, is to enable more composability for these institutional assets. I'd love to get your thoughts on kind of what products you envision being built on top of MarginFi, which ones will be tailored to some of this institutional flow that we anticipate coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe tying that into like everything we talked about. So like from a risk perspective, a lot of risk modeling is done with like historical data, and we just like in Solana DeFi we haven't had a lot of it. Like in traditional markets, historical data like goes, many years to sort of like define an asset. New assets pop up every day, every second on Solana. We're actually at the point now where a lot of protocols on Solana that are issuing credit, like MarginFi, like Camino, like Drift, have really solidified themselves in terms of their own risk management, really public parameters, like being able to, and from like a traditional markets POV, being able to audit and see for yourself solvency. And so at this point, I think we're at a point where we could enable like better composability across these venues. And so one of the things we're really focused on at Margin now is unifying someone's like entire DeFi portfolio, especially on the credit side, where people are using different venues for different reasons, and they're getting different benefits out of that. And they can borrow against their whole portfolio from like a single place instead of like fragments of it from one venue to the next. And so this is like, sort of like a evolutionary step on DeFi that I think we can take now that a lot of the structures have solidified, and like from a point of like risk management, like MarginFi has handled hundreds of millions of dollars of like withdrawals and deposits in like a single day. And so like we can rely on these systems now and sort of build like more complex products on top of it.
That's awesome. Very cool. Eugene, I'd love to get your thoughts on market structure. I know we've spoken about this at length in the past, and I think as we're anticipating more institutional adoption, markets are going to have to adapt to the size that entails, right? So I'd love to understand, like, where do you see Solana's gaps in terms of addressing those market demands, and what do we need to do from both an infrastructural perspective as well as kind of market design, perhaps even from a policy perspective, to enable some of this more institutionally sized flow.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's really interesting and really great for Solana that some more assets with a non-zero terminal value are showing up to the chain. I think that's been a big problem for blockchains for quite some time. And probably the easiest way to do it is to bring, as we say in crypto, real-world assets onto the blockchain. There still needs to be a compelling product offering on the chain itself. So today, I think if we brought Apple equity onto the blockchain, there wouldn't be really a reason for any of us on stage here to trade it on Solana versus trading it from our brokerage accounts, because the liquidity is going to be worse. The margining maybe would be a little bit better, but you're going to get worse prices when you're trading. And again, some of that comes down to some fundamental limitations of the blockchain, and how expensive compute is. But there are some efforts on the infra side that the Ansa team is working on. I think probably the biggest one that is going to unlock some more mature market structure on Solana is it's called MCP, multiple concurrent proposers. And one way to think about the chain today is every 1.6 seconds, someone randomly selected around the world gets to run the matching engine. And it turns out it's a pretty difficult environment to build an exchange in. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that change land, and then the new market designs that people are going to build on top of Solana.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredibly exciting that we're constantly upgrading, we're addressing these concerns. I think it definitely sets us apart, from the rest of the ecosystem. Nathan, I know you guys have been really focused on the RWA space as of late, with USDG markets specifically, and some of these other RWAs. I'd love to get your thoughts on that strategy, and where do you see kind of Orca fitting into this broader RWA ecosystem as we bring on both private credit, tokenized equities, some of these other assets.
Sure. Yeah. RWAs have definitely been a big part of our focus. I think we recently joined Project Open in conjunction with Superstate and the Solana Policy Institute to really engage with the SEC and develop together a framework to have a pilot program for trading equities on chain in a compliant way, and kind of build out an example of that can be then expanded larger in the future. I think in terms of market structure, I think there's a lot of different trading primitives, and I think for us, something that's very interesting is kind of the long tail asset market within RWAs. I think within crypto, when people hear long tail asset, you usually think of like meme coins. But in TradFi, there's really a lot of long tail assets that trade very liquidly or hardly at all, often at much higher spreads than a meme coin would. I think there's a lot that can be done with the concentrated liquidity model to really enhance liquidity in a bunch of these assets. I mean, things like private credit, mineral rights, emerging market debt. There's like a number of these that are individually all multi-trillion-dollar asset classes that really are highly liquid now, that probably could benefit a lot from both tokenization as well as kind of an alternative market structure.
Okay. Eduardo, I'd love to get your thoughts on sort of how Galaxy is approaching DeFi right now. What venues are you guys excited about? What projects are you looking to integrate with? I guess time for you to show some of your excitement here. But yeah, I would love to understand your thoughts on the landscape more broadly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm very excited about the way that crypto is going. I think that you're seeing some new, more mature designs around protocols with stuff like termed out loans. There's still a little bit of things that need to be figured out. But there's certainly like exciting ideas that are being put out there. You have like term structure, term finance. Both of them, I think, could have compelling products in the future. We'll see how they adapt to the market. I think Hyperliquid is extremely exciting as well. On Solana, I love the existing protocols there, right? Margify, Camino, Orca, all of them have excellent products and they just keep shipping. So it's certainly exciting. I think on the stablecoin side of things and the tokenization side of things, protocols like USDG, M0, PayPal getting integrated into the blockchain, I think that is a fantastic news for the rest of the space or for the adoption of institutions into the space, right? More so for payments. And on the PayFi side of things, like protocols like Huma that process billions of dollars in transactions, it's honestly fascinating.
Yeah, no, I agree. Awesome. Well, I guess that's our time, guys. But I want to thank you all for joining me here today. And yeah, let's get you guys to the happy hours. Awesome. Thank you.